Oklahoma State announced a new initiative that they're going to put QR codes on the back of their players' helmets. And you scan a QR code and you can donate money to the school's general NIL investment fund. And I think that's dumb. I like the idea of having an avenue with players to create revenue opportunities. I just think this one's super incredibly impractical. You're not going to be close enough unless you are a crazy mega donor to be able to actually scan the QR code on a player's helmet. And if you got money enough to sit in the stands where you can actually scan a QR code on a player's helmet, you probably don't need to scan a QR code on a player's helmet to give money to the university. Like you have been contacted or you have the connections. I think there are I think it's a brilliant idea, right? Because it tells players, hey, we're serious about getting you some cash, which is a third of the battle, 2/3 of the battle. I don't know. But getting that money is an important thing to the players. Like when Baylor assistant coaches on the first day of practice were wearing t-shirts that say, we pay players. It is getting the message out there that like, hey, this is important to us. I just think it's a really impractical way to do it. I think it was Nebraska had talked about like if a player makes a big play, say a cornerback gets an interception in the first quarter, and for 25 seconds on the scoreboard, on the video board, they would put up a QR code like, hey, give to that player. Give that guy $1, give that guy $20, whatever the case may be. That's a really cool way to incorporate NIL into the game, but also say, hey, we are invested in getting players paid in college. That's a cool, innovative way. If players were putting QR codes on the back of their cars that they're driving around campus or around town, that's a better way to get players NIL money than putting a QR code on the back of their helmet. It's just so incredibly impractical that you're never like, whether you're watching at home on TV, unless Fox Sports and ESPN like zoom in on the back of a player's helmet, it's like, hey, get your phone out, kids, and scan this code so you can give the cowpokes some money. It's just not a way to like actually do it. Plus, I'm like a uniform guy. I watch UniWatch, or I read UniWatch. I pay attention to uniform reveals. Like I'm interested and I like that content. I like learning about the uniform design process, new uniforms being released. I'm into that stuff. And so to not to say like Oklahoma State doesn't have a legendary of a helmet as Michigan, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Tennessee, Alabama, Penn State. Like Oklahoma State's not on that level. Like they change their helmet constantly. But still the idea of a QR code being on the back of a helmet uniform wise is like, yeah, I'm not a big uniform advertisement supporter in that kind of same category of don't love it. You're not going to find somebody who is more pro pay the players than me. I just think it's I hate to use like political football, but it's kind of a political football. It's Oklahoma State going through the process of saying, hey, we are about paying kids here. We are about getting that bread. And then you're like, well, how are you going to actually do that? Hell, I don't know. We're just kind of playing the part. We're trying to look like we're doing that. Because now my fear is that there's always like a trendsetter in college football, right? Remember the turnover chain? Turnover chain started. Everybody's like, shit, we got to have our turnover. And it got to be really dumb. At what point is some team just going to put a QR code as this, like on each side of their helmet? Hey, scan this QR code and get our kids paid. Because I don't think we're above that now. The second somebody puts a little one on the back of the helmet, turns into like somebody made their entire helmet stripe a QR code. And then somebody put a QR code on the side of their helmet. Like they got the school logo on the right and a QR code on the left. I just don't like where that's headed. And I think even if you put it on the entire side of a helmet, I don't know that is, I don't know that that'll ever be practical. You put it in the stadium on the video board for 30 seconds after somebody has a 39-yard rushing touchdown. You're like, hey, we're going to give $1 to this dude, scan the QR code. That's going to be infinitely more practical than putting it on a helmet, I think. But I like the idea. I like the thought process of like, hey, this is how committed we are to getting kids paid. I just don't know that it actually does anything at the end of the day. And I think that's one of those things that's like, oh, hey, you thought about like how we could do it, but not like if that actually works or not. And maybe that was the ploy all along. I don't know. That'll do it for today's episode of the Daily Huddle. Appreciate you making us a part of your day, however it is, wherever it is you're doing. So here on YouTube, click the subscribe button. Make sure you're getting all the great college football content we're pumping out. If you are listening on a podcast feed, drop a 5-star review. Goes a long way in helping out the channel. I'll see you tomorrow for another episode here of the Daily Huddle.